The last time you'll have seen the gentleman sitting in front of me, if you saw this morning's Metro or any of the photos that I tweeted, was with a rather big dog in a theatre announcing the launch of this, and it's the programme for the Dublin Theatre Festival. Loughlin, you're the...
Artistic director?
The artistic director. Yeah. So is it your job to pick all of the plays that are on?
Pretty much, yeah. That's about maybe 5% of my job description.
Right.
But
okay.
yeah, like I do, I'm in constant conversations with all the Irish companies and artists about, I suppose, what Irish work we will include in the festival every year, and then have the kind of privilege or the honour to be travelling the world on a pretty regular basis, looking for international theatre to bring back to Dublin.
Brilliant. You have a very exciting lineup for the festival, which is on from the 30th of September to the 17th of October of this year. Would you like to bring us through some of the things that you think people are really going to like?
Yeah, well, I suppose starting with the kind of major, the big shows in the Gaiety Theatre, which is one of the kind of home of the festival in many ways for many of the people who come to see the work. We are opening with a pretty astonishing show from Australia,
okay.
Which is kind of a very beautiful, sexy, exhilarating production with some of the kind of finest specimens of humanity seen on a Dublin stage in quite some time. Australians are famous for their physical theatre, and in this show they're kind of, I suppose, combining incredible circus skills with contemporary dance and acrobatics to a really incredible soundtrack of kind of contemporary music, and it's really kind of a really exhilarating, wonderful show. It's going to be for people who are online, and it's also Ulster Bank, our wonderful title sponsors, are giving away 1,000 free tickets to a preview of the show on the 29th of September.
Wow.
And people can check out ulsterbank.com/arts to check that out. We also have, coming over from the West End, kind of one of the biggest hits in the West End in recent years, Enron, which is the all-singing, all-dancing version of The Collapse of Capitalism. A laugh a minute as we kind of get our heads around exactly what went wrong,
okay.
And where it all started. It's a really great show, directed by Rupert Gould, who's one of, I suppose, without doubt, the most successful British director of the moment. He's on an incredible role with his company Headlong.
Okay.
And then also Gary Hines and Druid are tackling O'Casey's famous play The Silver Tassie, which is going to be, I think, definitely one of the Irish highlights of the programme. Gary is, I think, without doubt, the finest director in the country and has been for a long time. And Silver Tassie is famously a challenge to great directors in that its first and third acts are what people would know of O'Casey, and that they're kind of that heightened naturalistic writing about Dublin and Dublin tenement life, but in the second act the people from the tenements go to war.
Right.
And he was very influenced by European theatre at the time and wrote a much more experimental, conceptual second act, which is quite operatic in its form. So it's always really interesting to see how great directors kind of scale the heights of the second act in particular.
Okay.
So I think a lot of people are going to be very interested to see Gary's take on this.
Very good.
And then I suppose at the heart of the programme, artistically from my point of view, particularly in terms of the international work, is a particular focus this year on Polish theatre,
okay.
Called Polski Theatre, surprisingly enough. And it's like Polish theatre culture Poland's always had one of the strongest theatre cultures in the world, and some of the highlights of the festival going back many years, particularly back to the 1980s when Mr. Michael Colgan used to be the artistic director, involved Polish work, that really kind of, I suppose, blew people's perceptions of what theatre could be apart here in Dublin.
Right.
Some of the international work that really made an impact. And I've been working on this for a number of years to try and put together a major Polish season, given the huge demographic shifts that have happened in the country, and we have Polski bars and Polski shops and Polski newspapers, and it's essentially, why don't we have Polski contemporary culture? Mm-hmm. So it's an attempt to redress that balance. Three truly remarkable productions, led by the Grand Master of Polish theatre, Mr. Christian Lupa, who is truly one of the most respected directors in the world. He's up there with Peter Brook and Ariane Minushkin and Robert Wilson, and his work has never been seen here, so it's a kind of matter of some personal pride actually to be getting Mr. Lupa here.
Okay.
With a show that's 7.5 hours long.
Yes, I saw this. 7.5 hours long. I love the description. There are 2 breaks. One of them is an hour.
Yes, indeed. In case you need to eat.
Well, and it contains nudity, scenes of a sexual nature, and strong language.
Thank God. Yeah. But yes, it's. I should say 7.5 hours short. It's a remarkable piece in that as a really revered cultural figure in Poland, he has been surrounded by an ensemble of actors himself for a long time, and many commentators in Poland have said that he's actually looking at his own relationship to his company of actors by recreating Warhol and the Warhol superstars in the factory in New York.
Right.
And essentially you sit and you watch these egomaniacs make art for 7.5 hours. But it manages to be one of the most fascinating pieces of theatre I've ever seen.
Okay.
And also then the other 2 shows are younger directors who are making a huge name for themselves internationally, who are either taught by Lupa or trained with him as an assistant director. Gregor Jarzyna with a production of Teorema.
Okay.
People may remember he was with us in Dublin for the centenary of the Abbey in 2004 with a remarkable production of Festum, which was a huge success. He's a really, really fine director, very elegant, poetic, visually sophisticated work. And then we have the Danton case, kind of the enfant terrible of Polish theatre, who is literally a punk with a wonderful Mohican and a long military coat, who makes very kind of angry work critical of Polish society, this time looking through the lens of the French Revolution and asking questions about whether or not Poland has that really benefited from overthrowing communism.
Okay.
Then we have a number of other international shows. We have a beautiful show coming from France called Le Fait de Serge, which I think is going to be the sleeper hit of the festival.
Okay.
From a director called Philippe Quay.
Tell me about John Gabriel Borkman.
John Gabriel Borkman, is the offering from the Abbey on their main stage this year. Frank McGuinness adapting Ibsen. Frank McGuinness obviously has a long, an illustrious career in adapting the work of both Ibsen and Chekhov and others. This one essentially is very timely in that John Gabriel Borkman is essentially the story of a banker who is disgraced, which may resonate somewhat in Dublin at the moment. It's a remarkable cast, including Alan Rickman and Fiona Shaw and Lindsay Duncan and really remarkable Irish actors as well. So I think it's going to be a particularly hot ticket. For all those reasons.
And it's not only adults. I know we're kind of skipping through the programme. There's loads of stuff that we could talk about.
31 shows, 408 individual events.
408, including actually bringing back some of the hits from last year's Fringe Festival.
Yeah, we have a wonderful programme that we present every year with Culture Ireland and the Irish Theatre Institute, where we revive successful Irish productions from the last 12 months. The thinking behind it, it's now in its 3rd year and it's been very, very successful, is that I suppose we have such a large audience for theatre during the festival, and a lot of that audience might have missed very good work during the year, so we're bringing it back for that audience, but also for all the international presenters who are in town during the festival, looking for work to tour abroad. So we last year, for example, Silver Stars, which we revived as part of the reviewed programme, has travelled to New York and to Helsinki and has had many other invitations to Poland indeed as well, and other shows revived as part of that programme have been touring since. This year we're reviving 3 shows. The first one was in the Absolute Fringe last year, which is Beckett's Act Without Words 2, directed by Sarah Jane Scaife, where she has quite radically set the play outdoors and very, I suppose, subtly referencing contemporary issues like homelessness and drug addiction, and bringing a whole new layer of meaning to Beckett's wordless play. And also we're reviving The Girl Who Forgot to Sing Badly, arguably I think one of the best shows of last year, a joyous show that the Ark presented, directed by Lynn Parker, with Louis Lovett in the title role. It's going to tour throughout the festival as well. Both we will play at the Ark, but also at the Civic in Tala and Drioch and Blanchardstown, as part of another initiative we have called the Festival on Tour, where we're determined to extend the geographic reach of the festival.
Yep.
As part of that, we're also presenting an American show in Ballymun at the Axis for the first time.
Brilliant.
And then finally we're reviving Una Santa Oscura, which was a piece was shown here in Project Art Centre for only 3 performances last year. which is a very intriguing piece. It's a piece of contemporary music written by Ian Wilson to be staged.
Okay.
It has been staged by Tom Creed, the director, and Kieran Amelia, designer, in a very beautiful wordless piece using a lot of video and a real virtuosic performer from a violinist, performance for a violinist with the Irish Chamber Orchestra.
Wow.
It looks at it's essentially a tale of loss and loneliness in contemporary Dublin.
One of the comments that I saw when the programme was announced on the Facebook page yesterday was that I hope Mr. Muffin makes it over this time. Tell me about Mr. Muffin last year.
Mr. Muffin is a media whore. He's just looking for attention is all. Mr. Muffin was programmed last year. He's a little guinea pig who a show for 5 to 7 year olds, I think. Or the 6+ is how we've advertised it. He was performing in Japan and got lost on his way from Japan to Dublin. Created quite a media storm as a result, and never disappointed a lot of children in Dublin. So we felt we were obliged to bring him back, and he has agreed to come by air this time.
The Ulster Theatre, or the Ulster Bank Theatre Festival, or the Dublin Theatre Festival, or whatever we really want to call it, has an awful lot of supporters. Yes. And you have a lot of people who come back year on year. But one of the most important things for Dublin Theatre, or for theatre anywhere, is to get new people coming. So what in your programme do you have really for the new people who might not be sure that they can go to a theatre festival? I mean, isn't a theatre festival just for the people who go to the Abbey and the Gaiety and all the time?
It's so not, actually. And we do have a very diverse audience, actually. And one of the things that we are constantly surprised by, I suppose, is how young our audience is. Like the largest band of people who come to the festival are aged between 25 and 45. But they're coming, actually, because those who don't know it need to realise that actually theatre is one of the coolest things that happens in the city. Like we have a trilogy of Belgian work coming over, which is happening in SS Michael and John, which is 3 immersive shows, a term immersive theatre that's just evolved, where essentially you are brought one by one into a performance, bound and gagged and wheeled in a wheelchair, and to have a very individual, very sensual, sensory experience where you're fed and stroked and caressed on a bed for 25 minutes. Like, what could be cooler than that? Why wouldn't people come?
I can't think of anything that sounds as intriguing and repulsive all at the same time. Okay, I'll give that one a go. And tickets are not that expensive?
No, and we've reduced our ticket prices this year in line with the kind of hardship that people are experiencing. The tickets range roughly between €15 and €40 for a Saturday night best seat ticket in the Gaiety Theatre.
Okay, very good.
Which compares very, very favourably to other countries in the world, I can assure you. So yeah, we're a subsidised festival that receive a lot of support from public funds, but also, we work very hard to raise corporate support and other support, and I suppose we feel an onus to keep ticket prices as low as possible as a result.
You're very heavy on Facebook and Twitter and all of the social networks these days, and trying to get out about what you're doing and whatever. Find it's helping?
Oh yeah. Actually, one of the things I love social networking during the festival, because you used to come out of a show and you'd wait 2 days for the press reviews to catch up. You'd get up in the morning and have to leave your house, for God's sake, to buy the Irish Times.
Right.
But I come out of a show now, and the first thing I do is I turn on my iPhone and I search the name of the show on Twitter.
Okay.
And I know what Dublin's thinking. It's really incredible. So, and it's really exciting, actually, I think. And I think arts organisations are using new media in very clever ways and are kind of ahead of the game in many ways. I was looking yesterday when we launched at what was trending in Dublin on Twitter. And the Abbey was trending in the morning, and the festival was trending in the afternoon. And I think arts organisations are ahead of other industries in how they're using new media.
Absolutely. Becoming a friend of the festival. It's obviously something that is very important to you guys, because it's actually people who are saying, yes, I would like to support you.
Yeah.
What are the benefits?
The benefits are numerous. Primarily, people get seriously discounted tickets,
Yep.
which everybody needs at the moment. Also, you benefit from priority booking. We opened at 1 o'clock yesterday to the Friends of the Festival for the next 3 weeks. The only Friends of the Festival who support us directly can buy tickets. But also, I think, and very importantly, people feel that they are supporting the festival and helping to make something of this scale happen in the city, and helping artists and companies to make work that they wouldn't otherwise be able to make.
Thank you very much for your time, sir. I know you're a busy man. I hope that dog is being fed well. Thanks. Cheers.
Cheers.